I've stayed in more hotels than I can count, cheap ones, quiet ones. The kind you forget about the moment you check out. For a long time I never once felt unsafe. Hotels were just places to sleep. That changed after a series of nights that made me realize something unsettling. Sometimes the danger isn't outside the building. Sometimes it's already inside. These are true hotel horror stories, experiences that still don't make sense and still haunt the people who lived through them. I was traveling for work and attending a training event in a small city in Pennsylvania. I checked into a hotel that looked normal enough. Old red carpet, dim lighting, and a faint smell that reminded me of my grandmother's house. Nothing about it felt dangerous. The woman at the front desk gave me my key without much conversation. My room was on the 3rd floor. The hallway felt strangely empty, not abandoned, just quiet in a way that felt unnatural. My room itself was small but clean, a bed, a desk, a bathroom. I showered, turned on the television, and tried to unwind after hours of driving. I eventually fell asleep. Sometime later, I woke up to a sound that pulled me out of my dreams, a soft scraping noise. At first, I thought it was the ice machine down the hall. I was half asleep and didn't want to move. Then I heard it again. This time it came from right outside my door. I sat up and turned on the lamp. Something white was sticking out from underneath the door. I got up slowly and picked it up. It was a folded piece of paper. Inside was messy, uneven handwriting. It said someone was watching me from somewhere inside the hotel. My heart started pounding. I listened for footsteps, but the hallway was completely silent. I locked the chain on the door and sat on the bed with my back against the wall, keeping the light on. I didn't sleep. About 20 minutes later, I heard the sound again. The paper slid under the door slowly. Deliberately, the second note said the person had been inside my room earlier that day, before I arrived, and that they liked watching people sleep in this hotel. I searched the entire room, under the bed, inside the closet, behind the shower curtain. Nothing. I sat there for another half hour, barely breathing. Then the third note came. The sliding sound was slower this time, like the person wanted me to hear it. The message said the person was already inside the room with me again. I felt my chest tighten. I grabbed my bag, went to the door, and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. I unlocked the door and ran. As I reached the stairs, I looked back once and thought I saw a shadow pull back into one of the rooms. A front desk told me nothing showed up on security cameras. But when they checked my room, they found the window latch broken. I left immediately and never returned. I was driving through Virginia late one night and stopped at a small hotel because I was too tired to continue. The parking lot had only a few cars. Inside, the front desk clerk barely looked up at me. My room was at the end of the hallway. When I walked in, something felt off. The lamp was tilted. A drawer was open. The blanket on the bed looked slightly wrinkled. I told myself housekeeping probably rushed. I fell asleep. Later that night, I woke up to a faint clicking sound. My doorknob was slowly turning. I stared at the door, frozen. Then I heard the unmistakable sound of a key sliding into the lock. The door opened slightly, then closed. I stayed awake for nearly an hour. Eventually, exhaustion won. At around 2 a.m., I woke again. This time, I heard rustling inside the room. I sat up. In the darkness, I could see a shadowy figure standing near my bag. I asked who it was. A deep voice calmly replied, It's housekeeping." The figure moved toward the door and left. I turned on the light and saw my bag had been opened. The front desk told me there was no housekeeping staff working that night. Police reviewed the footage. A large man was seen walking the halls repeatedly. Then entering my room with a key, I checked out immediately and slept in my car. I stayed at a cheap hotel in New Jersey during a solo weekend trip. The hallways were silent. Too silent. That night, I woke up to a soft sliding sound. Then I heard breathing, slow, heavy. It was coming from the closet. The door, which I knew I'd left open, was now slightly closed. I froze. The breathing stopped the moment I sat up. I slowly backed out of the room and went to the front desk. They told me no one else had access to guest rooms. I switched rooms. An hour later, I heard a housekeeping cart roll down the hallway. It stopped outside my new door. Then I heard breathing again, right outside. In the morning, a different employee told me something disturbing. They hadn't had a night housekeeper for over a week. The woman had simply stopped showing up. She still had the keys. Hotels are supposed to be temporary places, somewhere you stay for a night and forget, but sometimes someone else is already there, watching, waiting, and sometimes they never checked out.